For so long, one of the biggest concerns for retirees was running out of money. These days, the bigger fear may be becoming a burden on their loved ones. In fact, it's causing some to actually delay their retirement. So is there a better balance? Joining us in this sponsored segment, Mike Martinez. He is the president of the pension group here in Columbus. Good to see you, Mike.
Great to see you.
All right, so let's talk about why so many people worry. And this really has been kind of this trend, right, where people are really scared about becoming dependent on their kids or their loved ones once they reach retirement.
Well, you know, for some families, that's an issue. You know, I know of people where, you know, they have to take care of mom or dad.
Sure.
You know, and it's one of those things where maybe mom or dad didn't have the resources. Where are they going to go? You know, and you know, if you're fortunate enough that you can help your parents out, or they live in the same community, that's the hardest problem. Is, you know, a lot of people they go off to college, they no longer live in their hometown. I know it happened to me. I grew up in Canton, Ohio, and even though it's 2.5 hours north, you know, I'm down here in Columbus. You know, and it's not like my parents are, you know, right beside me. And even though my mom, we just celebrated her 87th birthday. My dad's 90 last weekend, right before the Memorial Tournament, and you know, it's great to see that. But I have siblings up north, you know, that kind of looking in mom and dad. But you know, it's not everyone's in that situation. So yeah, it can be difficult in a situation like that. But how do you adjust things?
How do you adjust?
You know, and it's. It can be difficult for people, but it's part of an aging population where there are, you know, families who may even have teenagers that have to take care of their parents or to help them out financially. So it's certainly not a situation you want to be in, but if you are, you know, how do you address your own investments? How do you make sure that, you know, certainly in that situation with grandparents, they're going to have Social Security come in. They could certainly help out with expenses, you know, and understanding that budget is going to take a little more time to go through. It's not just preparing for your retirement or your spouse's retirement. Now we got to figure in this other generational thing, helping take care of parents. How does that affect your retirement, or what do we need to do to improve their situation? We've had situations where, you know, I had a client where we took over managing a dad's accounts. Now, that account wasn't small, it was $1.5 million, but we repositioned those monies to maybe not take so much risk, to generate more income so that if dad needed long-term health care, there was enough money to cover those expenses. So again, different things to look at. That, you know, it doesn't face everyone out there, but certainly there might be a viewer or two that says, you know, I'm in that situation. I need to talk to Mike and his team. I
need to talk to him, because that is something you don't want to be a burden on your children. And even, you know, I think, is there a way that I can plan in my retirement, right, so that my children won't have to do that? And and I think people today, even, there's a lot more things to consider, right, that might be delaying retirement. We talk about the tariffs on top of that, right? So there are things I think that people are uncertain about, that they need a little guidance when it comes to making sure they are pulling the trigger at the right time.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, there's situations with tariffs, you know, the cost of goods, as we talked about earlier, will continue to go up. And, you know, the purchasing power, if you're on fixed income, I've heard it from my parents all the time, because my dad's been retired since 53, he's 90 now, so, or my mom's 87, you know, they just don't have the resources. Their pensions only pay for so much, Social Security only pays for so much, but property taxes continue to go up, this goes up. There's only so much there. So, you know, certainly I'm in a situation, I'm fortunate enough that I can help my parents financially, but not every, you know, I have other siblings that really can't help financially because they're worried about taking care of themselves.
Sure.
And again, I don't expect anything in return, you know, from my parents or my siblings. I can do what I can do because of the situation I'm in, but you know, if you're in that situation, what's the best way of preparing for that?
Of preparing,
And I think that's one of the biggest questions facing people in that situation, because as my parents have aged, my mom needs long-term care. Now it was 3 days a week someone's coming in, now it's 5 days a week. I jokingly say this all the time about my father. My dad, you know, says, well, it's the cleaning lady. The cleaning lady's coming. He refers to them as cleaning lady, but it's more than that. They're there to help my mom out because, you know, she's up there in age and she's not in the best of health, and we all face those situations. And you know, if you haven't, as our parents get older, we're all going to face it one day in the future.
Sooner or later, it is going to happen. And I don't think anybody wants to delay their retirement. I don't think anybody's loved ones or parents want you to delay your retirement, right? So let's talk about getting that plan. Mike, they can reach out to you and go over all of this. It is really a comprehensive plan that you are able to offer.
It is, and again, we'll address long-term care if that's an issue. There's different programs that can provide long-term care coverage for parents. If that becomes an issue, there's life insurance, there's annuities that can provide those types of things. As our parents continue to get older, there's going to be more and more healthcare needs that they're going to be facing, throughout their
years.
Yeah.
And I think we all realize healthcare costs are also going up. So these are things we should plan for, that we should put into our comprehensive retirement plan for everybody. So you can reach out, of course, to Mike and his team at the Pension Group, 614-414-3568. Mike, thank you.
Thank you.